Sheni. Hello, kwelicala. Hi, kwelicala. Ndiyanibulisa nonke emakhaya. Ndiyanamkela kuhlelo olutsha. Welcome or welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to African Hosa ASMR. I've missed you. I know. It's been a while since I've been in front of the camera. I'm shy. I hope everybody's doing good, great, perfect, awesome, amazing. I wanted to say great, but then I remembered that I accidentally broke my thumbnail. So it's a long story. I'll tell you next time. But long story short, I got stuck in a door and then boom, gone. What? Today, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to drop some knowledge. That's not different now, is it? We are going to be talking about African heroes, African legends, dead or alive. Hopefully you will enjoy watching today's video. I need for you to just sit back and relax and all will be perfect. Never mind the nail. It's going to be good. I forget. Let me just use this side. It's going to be great. Okay, everything's going to be great. So yeah, before we get started, today's look is inspired by Ntombi enkulu, intombi yase Ngqamakwe. Thetha ngabani? Ndithetha ngoJessica mna. Jessica ewe, Jessica Mbangeni. Nguye lo a-inspirishe look yami yanamhlanje. Today's look is inspired by Jessica Mbangeni. If you're not South African, you probably may be wondering, who is she? In my opinion, she is one of the most talented people in South Africa, yet she is so underrated. I strongly believe that she deserves more credit than she gets, and she deserves more recognition than she gets because she is super duper talented. Shh, my neighbor's opening the door. Let's wait for my neighbor. I think they are done. Awesome, great. Now back to Jessica. Who is she, you may wonder? Jessica is a South African poet, a praise poet. That's what she is, a praise poet and singer. She was born and raised in Ngqamakwe. Makwe in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. And she was born on the 22nd of August in 1977 and is a South African praise poet and singer, like I have previously mentioned. Born and raised in Namakwe in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa, and she rose to prominence after participating in Soweto Gospel Choir in 2002, and that is Jessica Mbangeni. And yeah, that's who today's look is inspired by. I'm wearing these gorgeous black earrings. So long, so gorgeous. How gorgeous are they? Super gorgeous, right? And I've painted kanye, kabini, katatu. 1, 2, 3. Isicokoza lokuqala, isicokoza lesibini, isicokoza lesithathu amnyama. Dot number 1, dot number 2, dot number 3, they're black dots. Amacokoza amnyama, black dots. Amacokoza amnyama, dot icokoza. Okay, now without further ado, I hope you said what I just said, which is, without further ado, let's get started. Don't forget to like, share, you know the things, like, comment, share, subscribe, super thanks, join, all that funny business, okay? Is it funny? No, it's not. Okay. Now, drum roll for today's legend. Today's legend that we are going to be talking about is uMakhulu uNomzamo Winfred Zanyiwe Madikizela Mandela. She is well known. She needs no introduction, but yeah, you're gonna learn more about her today, or probably you already knew these things. I'm just reminding you. So yeah, what I basically did, I just went to ChatGPT and just said, just write me a script for today's video. Okay, I know what I said last time, okay, on this video. I know that I said that ChatGPT didn't give me what I wanted. It didn't give me the juice. It didn't give me the vibe. It was too vague and all that. But I believe in second chances. I was willing to give ChatGPT a second chance. I was like, okay, ChatGPT. Now we're talking about someone who was a well-known, like, icon. Obviously, you know who this is, and you're not gonna lie to me about her, right? Right, ChatGPT. Right. Okay, cool. So, ChatGPT let me down. ChatGPT let me down. It was vaguer than vague. And I was like, okay, this means I should do my own homework then, because ChatGPT is obviously not on my side. I believed in AI, but so I went on to like, okay, I'm just doing my own research. But before I did my own research, I was like, you know what? What if I go online and try to find an article which has what I'm looking for. If it captures the life of Makulu Winnie perfectly, then I can just drop that knowledge, right? We're sharing knowledge here. And that's exactly what I did. Life is too busy. So this video is from this article. The title is Winnie Mandela. Winnie Mandela is the title, and it is by Saho, S-A-H-O, Saho. Okay. It says ANC political activist and ex-wife of Nelson Mandela, Deputy Minister of Arts and Culture, President of ANC Women's League, member of the NEC of the ANC. First name Winnie, last name Mandela, birth date 26th of September in 1936, location of birth Mbangeni, Transkei, Eastern Cape, South Africa, date of death 2nd of April 2018, location of death Milpark Hospital, Johannesburg, Gauteng, gender female. That's basically the summary of who she was, what she did, and when she left the planet. Okay, passed away. So now it begins with her early life, and it says Nomzamo Winifred Zanyiwe Madikizela was born the 5th of 9 children in a village of Mbangeni, Bizana, I think so, Bizana, in the Transkei on the 26th of September in 1936. She is from the Pondoland, Kumkaya, Kwasemampondweni, basically. Okay. During her infant years, her father, named Columbus, was a local history teacher. In later years, he was the minister of the Transkei government's forestry and agriculture department during Kaiser Matanzima's rule. Her mother, Noma Thamsan, was a science teacher. Now, let me just explain explain just minor things, like interesting things to people not South African who don't understand Xhosa. Her name is Nomzamo. Nomzamo. Ukuzama is to try. Nomzamo is a Xhosa or sometimes Zulu name given to a baby girl, and it means the one who keeps trying, the one who keeps pushing and fights, tries, and is very persistent. They keep trying again and again and again and again and never gives up, never backs down. And boy, oh boy, did she get to live up to her name. Nomzamo, Nomzamo, Nomzamo. And then we have Winfred, which is her like English name, and then Winnie is more like a nickname of some kind to her name, which is Winifred. And then we have Zanyiwe. Zanyiwe. Ukuzama is a verb. It's a doing word. Like Yazama, you're doing it. And then Zanyiwe is more of like, it's the act of trying has now been completed. Uzamile, you have tried. Now that's basically what it means. So they've given her the doing word and then it has now been done, which I find that very beautiful and interesting. And then her father was Columbus, which is not a Xhosa name, so I'm not going to explain it. And then we have umama wake, her mother. Her mother was Nomathamsanga. Nomathamsanga. One last time, Nomathamsanga. Nomathamsanga. Ithamsanga is luck. So if you're lucky, there are people called Lucky. If your name is Lucky, the English version of your name is Lucky. In Xhosa, if you're a girl, you would be Nomathamsanga. But if you are a boy, you would not be called Nomathamsanga. You would be called Thamsanga. Thamsanga. In my video about explaining Xhosa names, I explained how the names differ between boys and girls and kind of names that you're given. And I explained in that video, if you have a name, that name is normally given to a boy, like Ithamsanga. Thamsanga means luck. Thamsanga means luck. So you're a boy, that name is automatically yours. But if it's a baby girl, you do not name them Thamsanga. It's a cultural rule. You put a no in the beginning or kazi in the end. So now her mother is Nomathamsanga, not Thamsanga. Okay? And she was Nomzamo. Nomzamo. The no tells you that it's a name of a girl, or the kazi at the end also tells you that. So, yes. Anyway, let's move on. Where was I? Her parents desperately wished Winnie had been born a boy. And growing up, Winnie took pains to fulfill the role of tomboy by playing with other boys in her peer group and practicing stick fetching and setting traps for animals. Once, while quarreling with her younger sibling, who was named Princess, Winnie fashioned a knuckle duster out of a nail and a baking soda tin and accidentally struck her sister across the face whilst aiming for her arm. It was one of the many instances for which her mother administered a hefty beating. Wamqusha emveni kokuba ebethe umntana wakhe wabo, wamqusha ke umama wakhe. As a young girl, Winnie's family moved around and around within the former Transkei due to her father's work. She attended primary school Ebizana, but when she was 9 years old, the family moved to Mbangeni. Her family moved to Mbangeni. Basuka ke Mbizana. I hope nibiza right yonke lento andibisi kusebizana, but it should have an H uba kusebizana. I think kusebizana. Basuka ebizana baya Mbangeni, and then xa befika Mbangeni, she also went to school there, and she attended school there as well. And then Winnie would also help her father with labor on the farm. Okay, she helped create a close bond with her father, who was known for his aloofness despite... Shh, I hear somebody. Did you hear that? Anyway, I think let's continue. She formed this close bond with her father, who had great love for his children. Great love for his children. Columbus was a proud man who greatly valued education and whom saw the importance of educating his children about their Pondo roots, as well as traditional academic subjects. So wayebafundisa ke abantwana bakhe uWinnie noPrincess, ebafundisa ngemvelaphi yabo, ebafundisa ngokuba mabazingce okanye mabaziqhenye ngokuba basuka emampondweni. Once again, in Xhosa, we have different tribes. Like I've mentioned, we have amaXhosa, amabhaca, amagcaleka, amampondomise. So uWinnie is from the Pondoland, ulimpondo, just like me. Yeah, ndathanda usifaka ezintweni. So that's really cool. When she was very young, two tragic events hit. Two tragic events. Firstly, her elder sister Uvuyelwa contracted tuberculosis and unfortunately lost her life, an event which shook Winnie's belief in the God her mother had always prayed to during her daughter's demise. To explain the meaning of her sister's name, Vuyelwa. Vuyelwa is a Xhosa name, typically always given to baby girls. I would say I've never met a boy called Vuyelwa. I'm not saying that there isn't, but it's very rare that you would find a boy named Rachel, right? I'm not saying that it's not possible, just making an example. But Vuyelwa means ukuvuya is to be happy. Ndiyavuya, I'm very happy. Ukuvuya is to be excited. So Vuyelwa means excitement. But in this case, Vuyelwa means the one people get excited over. Let's say you wanted a baby, and then the baby came and they were everybody was happy that the baby's finally here. So you guys are excited to have the baby. So the baby's name would be Vuyelwa, meaning the one people get excited over, if that makes any sense. Yeah, that's basically what it means. So now, and then after that, the second thing, I mentioned the first one, let's mention the second one. Let me see. The second one, I was just checking the time. Every 30 minutes I have to restart. I'm almost there. However, secondly, soon after his sister's unfortunate passing, Winnie's mother also developed the disease and unfortunately lost her life. And however, shortly before her mother's passing, she gave birth to a baby boy whom Winnie took responsibility for during her mother's mother's loss. So that is basically what happened. Now, let us talk about the early experience of apartheid, because she witnessed that, or it happened before she was born, and she got to live during that era. Let's talk about it. In 1945, uNomzamo Winifred Zanyiwe Madikizela Mandela was 9 years old. She was 9 years old, and she had a first-hand experience, or she witnessed what we call injustices of racism and apartheid in South Africa. What happened? You may wonder. What happened exactly? What did she witness? Well, what basically happened is that news had just arrived in Bizana that the Second World War had ended. Yes. And the celebration began as scheduled. Amongst with her sibling, Winnie was super excited about it, and she begged her parents, her father in this instance, and said, "Dad, I really need to witness this. The Second World War is over and everybody's celebrating, and people are just planning the celebration. We must go. We need to attend it. We need to attend it." So, along with her siblings, Winnie begged their father to attend, and the father was just like, "No, I don't want you guys to go there. I want to keep you safe. Just stay at home. You don't need to go." It's just trying to shelter the kids from the darkness of the world. The darkness being apartheid, of course. And then her father finally said yes and accepted or agreed to them, to attend. And then, however, upon arriving at the town hall, it was discovered that these celebrations were for whites only. No blacks allowed inside the town hall. No blacks allowed inside the town hall. And the children were forced to remain outside with their father while the white population enjoyed the merriment within. The obvious injustice struck a deep blow for Winnie, and thereafter she grew increasingly sensitized to the inequality of the world around her. Wanqama uWinnie waqonda hayi bokutheni thina singasikwazi ukungena nje thina singabantu abamnyama, kutheni ungena abantu abamhlophe bodwa apha, thina sitheni kanti. Yamcapukisa ke loo nto, akaziva kamnandi ngokuba eve loo nto. Emveni kokuba engavanga kamnandi engxamile waqonda uba andinophila kanje mna, ndihluke njani kubo, sonke siyafana, kutheni mna ndingazukwazi ukwenza into ezithile bona bakwazi. Nam ndiyafuna ukukwazi ukwenza into abazenzayo, ndizolwa ndilwe ndide ndikwazi ukuzenza nam. Yaqala apho ke indlela uWinnie wayefuna ukulwela ngayo inkululeko yabantu abamnyama elizweni labo. Okay, this incident was followed by another incident, by another incident, by another incident. Equally formative one, an equally formative one. Kwakhona eBizana. Once again in Bizana, there was a large black population. It's a village, it's a small town, so it's a deep rural, like underdeveloped place. There was a large black population, but all shops around there and services were owned by whites. Only and one day Winnie recalls seeing a scene in a shop with her father. So zonke venkile apha zaziphethwe ngabantu abamhlophe kodwa kugcwele abantu abamnyama. Ngoku ke isathi uyedlula evenkileni uWinnie uhamba notata wakhe wabona into eyenzekileyo ngokuba abantu abamnyama baphethwe kanjani. Okay. One day, Winnie recalls seeing a scene in the shop with her father whereby a black man was quitting on his hackles and breaking off pieces of bread to feed his wife whilst she breastfed their baby. All of a sudden, a white youth, a son of the shop owner, came charging towards them and yelling that he shouldn't have been like breaking the breadcrumbs there, and forced them out of the shop because he's making a mess inside the store. He kicked at them and their food and forced them out of the shop. Winnie watched the scene, dumbstruck, like, hayibo qhubeka ntoni? Kutheni bezoyeka lo mntwana amncinane abakhabe and abakhwazele asigqiba abagxothe evenkileni ingathi akuba ngobantu badala? Kutheni bezodelelwa ngumntwana nje? Like wamakeka uWinnie angazi baqhubeka ntoni kanye funa ukuyiqonda uba yintoni leyenzekayo kanye apha, funa ukwazi uWinnie kaloku baqhubeka ntoni ngoku. She could not understand how this man could allow himself to be treated that way, and why her father, Winnie's father, Columbus, who was such, a stand-up man, would not intervene where his morality so obviously demanded that he should. In time, she came to understand that her father's involvement would likely only have made the situation worse, and moreover, that a byproduct of apartheid was that from an early age, black children became accustomed to seeing their parents humiliated without any attempt to protest in defense of themselves. So basically, Winnie waxaba hayibo kutheni tatama engenzi into nje, uyakhatywa lo mntu ngumntwana uyaqothwa, kodwa tatam lo indoda eqotho akenzi into yena nxakiwe, kutheni ngazukwenza nto nje. Wayethe wayiqonda uWinnie uba wayithethe into yayizokwenza into zibe worse, and abanye abantu babedla ngokuthetha, babedla ngokubulawa. Ngoku ke wawuvele ubukele uthule uthi cwaka ubayeke kuba uzawudutyulwa ubuyathetha okanye uyalwa. Hayi ke Luckily for Winnie, there was what they called back in the day Bantu education, and which is the hated apartheid policy of introducing separate education syllabi for whites and blacks, and it was introduced in the early 1950s. And therefore she was able to benefit from an education that was on a par with, that's a new word for me, PAR, that was on a par with her white peers at the time. She passed her junior certificate, which was standard 8 being grade 10, and she passed grade 10 with distinction, and then went on to study at Shawbury, a Methodist mission school at Umbu. Hayi ke wafunda ke amabanga akhe besezantsi, waphumelela emagqabini, emveni koko wahamba yokufunda eQumbu ke amabanga akhe aphezulu. It was there that she matriculated. Okay, I think it's gone. I think the Botsotso. I think that car is called Botsotso. If you know what a car that's called Botsotso is, it sounds exactly like that. Okay, she went to Umbu. That's where she studied her high school. She pursued her high school studies. It was there that she matriculated and distinguished herself as a person with exceptional leadership qualities. And it was also there where she became more involved in politics. And then, due to financial constraints, Winnie's sister, Unensi, to whom Winnie was close, had to drop out of school and worked casual jobs in order to ensure that Winnie's education could continue, because Winnie was very smart and her sister didn't want Winnie to not go to varsity or get a higher education. So she decided, you know what, let's just drop out of school so that she could go to school. And with many like black families in South Africa, and more especially in the Xhosa culture, like they normally send selected individuals like to varsity to carry on with their educations. And once that person who's the most trusted and they have the most like hope in comes back from varsity, then sends the rest of the family to varsity. It's kind of like our culture. They send the others to varsity, or they support the entire family because they were the one everybody was like working towards, like making sure that something happens for them. And typically they would normally, in most families, they would have like a boy and a girl, and sometimes a girl would be smarter than a boy, but if the boy still had like good grades or typical like in average grades, and then the girl was like had higher marks, they would sometimes not send the girl to varsity but rather send the boy, because typically girls were at a risk, quoted commas, of coming back pregnant, and then the money has already been spent and now they have to sit down, take care of the baby and something like that. So it was easier to send boys than girls because they do not come back pregnant in a way. But in this case, in this case and in many other cases also, they would also send the girls to school, and Winnie was that person the family chose to send to school. And once again, once I make a statement in my videos, don't come for me. I'm simply dropping knowledge. If you disagree with what is being said, don't come for me. Don't come for me, okay? I'm just simply telling it as like it is. Come for whoever invented these or whatever, because I didn't. I'm just simply telling you what happened or what is happening. So yeah. And Where was I? Okay, Winnie had to drop out of school and then got casual jobs so that Winnie's education could continue. When Winnie returned from Shrewsbury with a first-class pass, she discovered that her father had remarried. His new wife was a woman by the name of Uhilda Nopikela, who all of the Madikizela children welcomed into their family fold, especially Winnie. They all welcomed her with open arms and they lived happily together. And then let's talk about her move to Johannesburg. In the year 1953, Winnie, upon her father's advice, was admitted to J. Hofmeyr School of Social Work in Johannesburg, where Nelson Mandela, who was already gaining national renown, was the patron. It was the first time Winnie Mandela had ever left Transkei, and a formative movement in her life. It was in Johannesburg that she saw the full effects of apartheid on a daily basis, but also where she discovered her love for fashion, dancing, and the city. It was only after a few months of living in Johannesburg that Winnie first went to Soweto. So I ke Winnie wemka Mpuma Koloni uthi qada eGoli. Xa efika eGoli ke waqoma yo bencinga uba ziyaduma ngapha into eMpuma Koloni, kanti kunje hayi sana ziyaduma apha abantu baphethwe kakubi apha sana. Hayi ke kodwa ke wabona uba uyazithanda ke izinto ezithe into ezithe kodwa ndiyaqoma ndithi ngizithanda into ezithene. Hayi ke masithemba niyandiva ndithini enqono beniyivile ngoba bendifuna ngesingesi mos le nto akho sizathu uba ndide ndiphinde ndiyitoli ke ngolwaa hlobo eqonda. Yabo, ndithanda ukutolika xa ndiqonda uba abaziwava la magama abakazicaci kakuhle kubo ngoba ndiyacacazisa yaqonda loo nto. Bandifuna ukusiqhenya ngobuXhosa bam. Ngoku ke andazi bazathi yintoni ke le nto. Sithanda isimuncumuncu eqonda loo nto. Yabo, funa ngoba bakele baqonda unobuthini ntombazana. Bangandivani bandithini eqonda. Hayi ke nani nindixhase le nto ndiyenzayo, nindixhase naqonda yena nindixhase. And then she completed her degree in social work in 1955, finishing at the top of her class, and was offered a scholarship for further studies in the United States of America. Someone's car. Okay. However, soon after receiving the scholarship offer, she was offered a position as a social worker at Baragwanath Hospital in Johannesburg, making her the very first qualified Black member of staff to fill that post. So she was conflicted. She did not know what to do. Should she take the offer to go pursue her studies further in the United States of America, or should she stay and work at Baragwanath Hospital and in Johannesburg and become the very first Black, employee there to work and all that stuff? Like, she was conflicted. She had no idea what she should do. What do you think would have been the best decision for her? What do you think she should have done on that? But anyway, she eventually made her choice. And her choice was, firstly, comment yours before you hear mine, so that you don't got to copy what she ended up doing. Hopefully you didn't. And make sure that you also mention the reasons for why you think that would have been the best decision for her, just to make it interesting if you don't know what you comment in this video. And then okay, she, where was I? After not knowing whether to leave and further his academic career in the United States, or to stay and pursue her dream of becoming a social worker in South Africa, she decided to remain in South Africa and worked at Baragwanath Hospital in Johannesburg, eGoli. Whilst working at the hospital, Winnie's interest in national politics continued to grow. She moved into one of the hostels connected to the hospital and found that she was sharing the dormitory with, guess who? Adelaide Tsugudu, the future wife of former African National Congress President Oliver Tambo. That's who she stayed with. And then after that, indeed, Adelaide would confide in Winnie whilst they were like in bed at night about the brilliant lawyer she would soon marry, and his legal partner, Nelson Mandela. It was also transpired that Oliver Tambo, happened to be from the exact same village from where Winnie grew up in, making them members of the same extended family. What a coincidence. And by the way, I was reading something on Wikipedia and it said that Winnie came from a royal family, and I think it's important that you should know that, because our people come from royal families as well. So she came from a royal family, but that information is from Wikipedia. I don't know how well I should trust Wikipedia, because it's Wikipedia after all, you know. And Nelson Mandela, of course, if you read Long Walk to Freedom, he also was definitely, without a doubt, from a royal family, and he was said to be chief or a king, I can't quite remember, of his village. But he was like, nope, I'm going to Johannesburg to fight for democracy of our country. I'm not gonna sit here and, receive all the royal treatment that I should be getting, which is something admirable in a way. Where was I? Like the words in this articles are super tiny, and once you scroll down the post, that keeps like hiding the words, which makes it difficult to see where you are. But it's actually a very beautifully written piece about like the biography of Winnie, and I find it very beautiful. Where was I? And it is worth mentioning that Winnie was already politically interested and involved in activism long before she met her future husband. And then she was particularly affected by the research she had carried at Alexandra Township as a social worker to establish the rate of infantile mortality, which stood at 10 deaths every 1,000 births. During her time at Baragwanath, Winnie began to grow, with stories and photographs about her appearing in newspapers, acknowledging the achievement of this girl from the Pondoland. Yay! Representing Winnie, who came to Johannesburg and looked to be making a name for herself. Until 1957, Winnie had been fairly romantically uninvolved. However, in that year, she met with Mbangeni Simpson, a gallant, fun-loving guy whom Winnie eventually grew tired of. Ouch. Due to how did that happen? Why? Why did you grow tired? Please tell us why. Well, this was due to his submissive attitude to white domination. Soon afterwards, Winnie was also courted by future chief of the Transkei and her father's future boss, Ukaiza Matanzima, whom happened to visit Baragwanath Hospital as a distinguished visitor that year. It was a relationship that was never to be. However, because she was soon to fall in love with Matanzima's childhood acquaintance and relative Nelson Rolihlahla Dalibunga Mandela. Okay, now let's just talk about her marriage to Nelson Mandela. Okay, Winnie was 22 years when she met Nelson Rolihlahla Dalibunga Mandela, and he was 16 years her senior. He was already a famous anti-apartheid figure and one of the key defendants in the treason trial, which had commenced the year before in 1956. On the 10th of March in 1957, Nelson Mandela asked Winnie, I just want to use her real name, not her real name, her long name. Let me retake that. On the 10th of March in 1957, Nelson Rolihlahla Dalibunga Mandela asked uNomzamo Winifred Zanyiwe Madikizela Mandela to marry him, and they celebrated their engagement together in Johannesburg on the 25th of May in 1957. Winnie and Nelson got married on the 14th of June in 1958 Ebizana, and the celebration caught national interest and was reported in multiple publications such as Drum Magazine and the Golden City Post. What? Drum Magazine? My Drum Magazine must be a very old magazine, because wow, it's still here till this day. Winnie quickly discovered that life married to one apartheid's most famous opponents was a lonely one. Her husband was always busy with ANC meetings, legal cases, and the treason trial. The Mandela residence was also a site for frequent police raids, during which policemen would just bust in the house with loud banging on the door in the early mornings and set on turning the whole house upside down. So added to that, you're still in your early marriage life. In July, Winnie found out that year that she was pregnant with her first child. So in October of 1958, Winnie took part in a mass action which was mobilized women to protest against apartheid's government infamous pass laws. This protest in Johannesburg followed a similar action that had taken place in Pretoria in August of 1956. The Johannesburg protest was organized by the presidents of the ANC Women's League, uLilian Ngoyi and Albertina Sisulu, amongst others. In fact, Winnie traveled with Albertina from Pefeni station in Orlando to the city center where the protest was taking place. During the protest, the police arrested 1,000 women. And then a decision was made that the women should not immediately post bail, but rather spend at least 2 weeks in prison as a sign of further protest. During these weeks, the pregnant Winnie saw firsthand how the South African prisoners are struggling, and her commitment to the struggle only intensified. Eventually, Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo were called to arrange their bail, and the ANC raised money to pay the convicted women's fines. It was an event which took Winnie out of her husband's considerable shadow in the eyes of the public, but also one which alerted national security to her potency as a voice of political dissent, independent of her famous husband. Following all this trauma, in 1959, February the 4th, Winnie gave birth to a baby girl, and her name was Zenani. I'm just going to explain the meaning of the word itself. Zenani, the word Zenani. Uze Nani. I'm just trying to think of a word that could just hit it on the nail. Zenani. Zenani meaning may you also. That's exactly meaning. Zenani, may you also. Okay, let's say I did something great. And then someone comes along, and people, it's not one person because there is plural, not singular. And then a lot of people come together, and then I'm like, I did this amazing thing in my deathbed. I'm like, I did this amazing thing. Zenani nenze njalo. I'm like, may you also do the same beautiful thing that I did. You know what I mean? Zenani, may you also do Zenani. It's a plural, not singular. If it was for one person, it would have been Zenawe, may you also. But Zenani, may you, all of you also. So Zenani, may you also do that thing. And then on the 30th of March in 1961, let me check the time. Now let's just talk about Winnie's influence. I mean, she has been influential this far. We've been talking about her. You guys can completely understand that she's been influential, right? Without a doubt. Now, Winnie had a few influential presences in her life. Chief amongst them were Lilian Ngoyi, whom, along with Helen Joseph, were the only two accused in the treason trial. Albertina Sisulu, Florence Matomela, Francis Bard, Kate Molale, Ruth Mompati, Hilda Burstein, who was the first community party member to serve on the Johannesburg Council in the 1940s, as well as Ruth First. These were people who Winnie was able to consider not only as source of inspiration, but as trusted confidence. This is significant because as Winnie's struggle against government continued, her inner circle became consistently infiltrated by people who would gain her trust as allies, only to reveal themselves later as spies. As Nelson spent increasing amount of time in police custody and underground, a number of unsettling relationships Winnie established with people whom would turn out to be police informants also seemed to increase. Oh my goodness. Let's wait. I think they're in now. Okay. Unfortunately for Winnie, she appeared to be surrounded by spies left, right, and center. Everywhere, spies here. Which is so unfortunate. Just wanna. And as she had spies left, right, and center, it's because they were looking for Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was in hiding. The police were looking for him, and he was like, no. And Winnie's married life to Nelson, whilst he was hiding, was unusual to say the least. And on Sunday, the 5th of August in 1961, the police finally apprehended Nelson whilst he was driving from Durban to Johannesburg. It was to be the beginning of his 27-year detention and another event that would cause an irrevocable change to the direction of Winnie's life. With Nelson in jail and a virtual association for the first 4 months of his detention, the police, sensing Winnie's potential to carry the cause, spared her with the beginning order on the 28th of December 1962. Okay, during this time, Winnie also became conscious of certain genus-faced individuals whom, under guise of friendship, secretly betrayed her secrets to the police. People such as the journalist Gordon Winter were fully fledged agents of the state who took advantage of Winnie's isolation to infiltrate her life and offer their friendship and support, all the while daily betraying her confidence to Apartheid officials. This was also a time of increased police harassment, with regular aggressive raids occurring on her house. To make matters worse, there also occurred the repossession of all of her furniture after Nelson Mandela had neglected to make provision for. He neglected to make provision for regular hire purchases payments following his arrest. And then at the end of May in 1963, Mandela was transferred without warning to Robben Island. Ironically, once absorbed into the prison system proper, Mandela, who was so fluent in law and structures of the country, found himself much less vulnerable to abuse than Winnie found herself on the outside. whereas prison, for all its despicable features, was governed by clear rules and structures. Outside of prison, Winnie found herself at the mercy of the unpredictable and chaotic forces, which she was ill equipped to navigate. In June of that year, she was first permitted to visit her husband in jail. She traveled 1,400 kilometers from Johannesburg to Cape Town for the purpose before a 10-kilometer journey over choppy seas to Robben Island. Once there, the couple were allowed to meet for just 30 minutes, separated by dual wire mesh, no seats, and a security detail in easy listening distance. They were not permitted to speak to one another in Xhosa, only English or Afrikaans. Wow. Now, on the Rivonia trial, Nelson Mandela was unexpectedly moved from Robben Island back to Pretoria barely a month after his initial transfer. The reason for the move soon became clear. However, his close colleagues within the ANC had been arrested in the swoop, and Nelson Mandela had to be tried with them in the infamous Rivonia trial, in which he and his co-accused escaped the death penalty, but were handed life imprisonment on Robben Island instead. With her husband in jail, the authorities increased the pressure to make Winnie's life as difficult as possible, with her children Zenani and Zinziswa particularly targeted. On numerous occasions, Winnie enrolled them into schools, only for the security police to find out and insist that the schools have them expelled. This was in addition to the continued raids on her house, her banning order, and frequent last-minute refusals to visit her husband in jail. A flavor of harassment and trauma of a typical raid is summed up by Winnie herself. You can read it here if you are interested, and it's in quoted commas. This is really long. You guys, and I'm running out of battery. My battery is flashing. I do not have enough time on my memory card. It's already splashing, and I think maybe it's time I just read what was written on ChatGPT, because ChatGPT wrote just about 8 paragraphs, and each paragraph was about 2 to 3 sentences long, so it's not going to be long. Let me just read what ChatGPT wrote for me and call it a video. It's basically a summary, and if you would like a part 2, please do let me know. But for now, my battery is dying and I don't want to leave this video midway. So yeah, we already spoke about her childhood and early life, which ChatGPT says she was born on the 26th of September in 1936 in Bizana, Pondoland, and she experienced complexities of apartheid in her early life. Growing up in a society marked by racial segregation, her spirit of defiance was forged in the crucible of injustice. We already know that. In terms of education and activism, it says that Winnie pursued education against the odds and earning a degree in social work. Her involvement in anti-apartheid activities intensified when she met and married Nelson Mandela in 1958. However, their union faced tremendous challenges, as Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for activism and leaving Winnie to carry the torch of resistance. That's basically what it says in terms of education, and yet we spoke a lot about that, and that's basically it. But ChatGPT wrote. It was basically a summary. And then it says role in Apartheid movement. Winnie Mandela emerged as prominent figure in anti-apartheid movement. She played a pivotal role in organizing protests, advocating for the release of political prisoners, inspiring hope amongst the oppressed. Her rallying cry echoed across the nation, demanding justice and equality. And then it says post-apartheid era. As apartheid crumbled, Winnie's life took a new turn. She became a member of parliament and continued her fight for justice, but her political journey was not without challenges. The post-apartheid era brought scrutiny and legal battles, yet she remained a formidable force. And then it talks about legacy and controversies. Winnie Mandela's legacy is a complex one, and it was faced with courage, controversy, and commitment. Despite her significant contributions to the struggle against apartheid, she faced criticism for her involvement in violent incidents. But it does not explain what they are. And one of those, it was the kid, let me just wait for a second, napping of like 4 young boys and unaliving of 1 boy. His name was Stormby. She was involved in that, but ChatGPT is not explaining that at all. It's one of those controversies she was like deeply involved in, like it was involving in an unaliving of a young boy, and I think she was actually incarcerated for that. I think for involvement in one way or another, but now ChatGPT is not saying any of that. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to Winnie. She was full of life, and she did a lot of beautiful things, and she was involved in controversies as well. But there's no doubt that she fought for our country to be a democratic country that it is today. And if you guys would like me to do a part 2 about her and get into those details of what happened, you can let me know. But for now, I think let me just do a closure that ChatGPT wrote for me. It says, as we reflect on Winnie Mandela's life, let us remember the indomitable spirit that fueled her commitment to justice. Her story is a testament to the enduring human spirit. Oh my gosh, I'm like so scared that the battery is gonna die. Okay. Her story is the testament to the enduring human spirit and the fight against oppression. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life of Winnie Mandela. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Until next time, stay curious. I like that. I think I should use that. Until next time, stay curious. Thank you for watching. Xhosa ASMR is out. Lala nini ndiqebile ngoku la 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 ndiqebile la 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 la